Tell me, please, will Putin launch this nuclear strike from space?
He has, problems with space. If we're talking about a trivial method, that is, a strike with ballistic missiles, then probably yes, if it's some non-trivial option from some spacecraft, but it's ridiculous. What spacecraft? There is a Russian module on the International Space Station that can barely live. That's why, of course, ballistic missiles, which were made in the Soviet Union, fly through space. It's completely understandable. But I think it can strike in different ways. At one time, the Soviet Union, and I have these documents, considered it, and Sakharov, by the way, wrote about it, but he did not name the operation. I'll tell you what it was called: Nemesis. And the operation was to use non-traditional means as a carrier of nuclear weapons. That is Sakharov remembering saying that the sailors were offered, actually, this idea of Sakharov was, by the way, that the sailors were offered to lay sequentially serious nuclear charges in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. And when they sequentially explode, a very high wave rises up to 600 or maybe 800 meters, and the coastal part of the United States comes to an end. In the same way, it was thought out to launch nuclear warheads on airships and on stratostats from Volsk. It was planned to do it. There is a military unit there. How do I know it? And in general, these stratostats fly wherever you want. Even then, they were already so organized that they flew as far as Vladivostok. Constantly, every week it went. They were lifted by one air current which is eternal and never goes anywhere. It's like rivers. They flew to Vladivostok, where they slightly descended a few kilometers and returned with the opposite air currents. They went straight to Volsk and were received there, and so on and so forth. If you remember, the Tu-114 was very similar to the Tu-95. That is, it turned out that the civilian airplanes were an absolute copy of the military planes. Why? At a certain stage, they wanted to replace them, because at that time, there were no missiles to shoot at airplanes, but only bombs. So Putin can use a non-trivial way, for example, to put thermonuclear charges in some tankers, and these tankers will come to New York and some other cities in the United States. I would be very careful if I were them.